Well, hello, my fabulous friends. I hope you're doing well. Well, I have a kind of a prophecy for you. I've been digging around in these, deep lore prophecies of the royal family, seeing if that can bring out any um, revelations to us. And one thing I did find is the Stuart Sapphire. The Stuart Sapphire speaks. I was born in fire and water, torn from the earth of Sri Lanka. My heart blue as midnight. I crossed oceans in the hands of kings and thieves until I came to the rest with the house of Stuart. They crowned me not in gold, but in loyalty. I swore my light to their blood. When the glorious revolution unseated James, I left with him to the shadows of exile. I sat in France on cold mantles in the hands of queens who wept for thrones they could no longer see. I watched their children grow pale with longing and speak of crowns as if they were ghosts. I am no mere jewel. I am a witness. I know the truth of bloodlines, the taste of oaths. For those who carry the Stuart right, I shine as the noon sky. For pretenders, I dim to the color of storm water. They brought me back to Britain with coin, not honor, setting me in the imperial state crown at the back where the crowds cannot see me. Do they think this hides me? Fools, I see every brow I sit upon. I feel the pulse beneath the skin. The day will come when my fire will blaze in public and the world will know the stone has refused a sovereign. And when I do, no palace oath will mend the crack that follows. All right. The Stuart Sapphire is a deep blue 104 carat gemstone, oval cut and thought to be of Sri Lankan origin. First recorded in the possession of King Charles II in the 17th century, though how it entered royal hands is mysterious. Some accounts suggest it came as a diplomatic gift, others hint at a purchase during his exile. When the Stuart line was disposed in the glorious revolution of 1688, when James II fled into exile, the sapphire went with them. In the exile years, the stone traveled with James II to France after he was overthrown, becoming a symbol of legitimacy for the exiled Stuart claimants, the so-called Jacobites. It passed through the hands of James Francis Edward Stuart, the Old Pretender, and then to his son, Charles Edward Stuart, Bonnie Prince Charlie. In exile, it was seen less as an ornament and more of a talisman of the rightful kingship, the belief that whoever held it was the true sovereign of Britain. The sapphire eventually returned to Britain in the early 19th century, bought by King George IV, a Hanoverian monarch, a political irony that would have made the Stuarts bristle. It was mounted in the imperial state crown, but interestingly, not at the front. Instead, it was at the back, just below the Black Prince's ruby. Some say that this was due to its deep hue color being less flashy for public display. Others whisper it was a subtle insult to the Stuart legacy, a way to hide their emblem of true rule from the public gaze. So mystical and scandalous lore. A Jacobite, I have to say, I have to be careful with that because in Dutch, Jacob, and in English, it's Jacob. So that's where I kind of trip up on it. A Jacobite, legend. The sapphire carries on oath that will only shine for a monarch of Stuart blood. For all others, it will dull, not in color, but in light, visible to those attuned to it. The coronation omen. Some old palace staff stories claim that during a rehearsal for Edward the seventh's coronation, the stone appeared to cloud briefly, leading to quiet mutterings about unsettled inheritance. The heir's curse, folklore, folklore says that if a non-Stuart born monarch wears it during an oath taking, their reign will face a legitimacy crisis within 7 years. The keeper's tale. There is supposedly a keeper of the stone in the crown jewel staff, someone who ensures it's polished only with specific cloths that have never touched directly before coronation. All right, so I've got some other information here on it. And here it's the Stuart Sapphire, the history. The early history of the gem is quite obscure, although it probably belonged to Charles II. That's why I thought this is really fascinating. We're now on Charles III. And it was definitely among the jewels that his successor, James VII and II, took with him when he fled to France after the Glorious Revolution in December 1688. All right, so we already know this. Let's see what else here was I going to be. After Queen Victoria ascended to the throne in 1837, the sapphire took pride of place in the front of her new crown, just below the Black Prince's ruby. Okay, and then it was Edward VII that moved it to the back. I just wanted to make sure I got this right. All right, so Queen Victoria was the last queen to wear it in the front. Ever since then, it's been turned around to the back. And there are pictures of of Queen Elizabeth at her coronation. I've actually seen pictures of both. But I don't know if it's because the color of photos back then, I don't know if it was enhanced, right? Because he used to paint over photos back then. But King Charles is definitely turned around to the back. All right. I've already read all that. So we're going to do a reading on it. And I'm going to use the Golden Tarot because this is the one I use for the Royals reading, right? So we're going to ask, what force, spirit, or oath lives within the sapphire? Is it an ancestor, an elemental spirit, or a dynasty's grudge? So let's see what we can pick up about the stone's true personality. The stone's true personality. So we'll see, is it a court card? Six of Swords. Well, moving on, that's the travel it's been doing all over the world. Came from Sri Lanka to England to France, and it actually was found, last place it was found was Italy before it returned back to England. King of Wands, yes, absolutely is ancestral. And one more, the Fool in reverse. Whoever wears it is foolish. Okay, so I'm going to say that it is a dynasty's grudge that lives there. There's the king sitting on there. Here's the traveling. So this is James the First, or James being kicked out of England, traveling to safety to France. For sure it is. He's put his energy into that sapphire. Interesting. Which ruler since then did the sapphire dim for? So who was the first ruler that the sapphire dimmed for? So isn't that crazy? It is the Stuart sapphire. They did put their energy. You can absolutely tune crystals to you. Absolutely. You can bind a crystal to you, although I don't recommend it because it's forever. If you happen to die before you unbind that crystal has to go living on in eternity bound to you. But you can definitely bind yourself to a crystal. All right. Which ruler from the past did the Sapphire first dim itself for? Let's see. Seven of Swords in reverse. Page of Wands in reverse. Two of Swords. I'm going to say, we don't have a court, well, we have a Page of Wands here in reverse. Seven of Swords. I don't really consider pages court cards. They're more messengers. Let's see which court card shows up first. Five of Cups in reverse. Two of Wands in reverse. Ace of Cups in reverse. Who was it presented to first? The Queen Victoria wore it in the front. She's the first one to put it in. The World in reverse. Seven of Cups. Queen of Swords. Now that would be Victoria. And look at the bad luck she had with Albert dying. She was the Queen of Swords. She was a Gemini. So it first started dimming for her because she wasn't a Stuart. So I wonder if it did. Now, she definitely was on the throne longer than 7 years, but she certainly didn't have a lot of luck. How does the Sapphire feel about the current sovereign? Now, like I say, Queen Elizabeth, I've seen pictures of both. And like I said, I don't know. Like it says, though, when you take your oath, not just when you're wearing it. Let's find out. How does the Sapphire feel about the current sovereign? So how does the Sapphire feel about Charles III, considering it was Charles II that brought it first? Some crystals don't like to be moved. You have to be really careful with crystals, how they're formed. If they're formed from a volcano, think of that energy that's embedded into that crystal. The best crystals that you can ever get are ones that you just see on the ground as you're walking. And you think about it, the earth is presenting that one to you. Like if you go somewhere in the mountains, Montana, like I don't know how many we picked up from Montana, like just a lot of lots of quartz. You go to any of the Rocky Mountains, you can get quartz. I was in Joshua Tree, and there's quartz. As soon as you see a quartz vein, you know gold is nearby. You can be walking along in Joshua Tree and just kick a rock and discover it's a gold nugget. So once the earth presents that, then those crystals are ready to be used. But when you have to dig and dig and dig and dig, maybe that crystal doesn't want to be found. You have to think about that sometimes. All right. How does the Sapphire feel about the current sovereign and that he put it to the back? Seven of Swords in reverse. It's not working for him at all. Knight of Coins. Knight of Coins. I'm getting that he's like neither here nor there, but we have to remember that Charles and Elizabeth the Queen Mother was Scottish, right? So is there some kind of lineage Stuart there? So I'm going to say that with this Knight of Coins here, Eight of Coins is I'm going to say it's not working, but it's not working either. Strength, the Magician in reverse, and the Four of Wands in reverse. I'm going to say that it is definitely not going to bring a lot of good luck, but it's not going to bring a lot of bad luck either. I think that the Crown here is creating their own. Which living royal would the Sapphire refuse today? So the Sapphire is like neither here nor there. So you have to wonder if there's you know, something there from the Queen Mother, the blood that comes from the Queen Mother. So there might be like just enough, because it did well for Queen Elizabeth. But what about, so Charles is like, it's neither, it's really quite ambivalent about Charles. It's like, well, we're not going to work for him, but we're not going to bring him a lot of bad luck. He's bringing his own bad luck. All right, which living royal would the Sapphire refuse today? And which living royal would the Sapphire choose? So this will be interesting because Diana has a lot of British blood. So on this side, we'll have we'll look for court cards. Who would the Sapphire choose today? Or yeah, who would the Sapphire refuse? That's what I said. Refuse and choose. Refuse and choose. So let's see what court cards come up. Refuse and choose. Refuse. The first is refuse. The second line is choose. So which court cards? We'll look for, has to be a king or a queen. Can't just be a knight or a page. Okay. Refuse and choose. Ace of Swords. Ooh, Queen of Wands in reverse. That'd be Anne. I wonder if Anne has, because she has so much of her father's Greek and Danish. Or choose. Refuse and choose. Sorry. I know some of you are probably typing right now. Sorry, my brain is inactive. So obviously, all of us who have really good feelings of Queen Anne. No wonder we call her Queen Anne. I think she's the rightful queen. Queen Anne. Okay, let's see who would be refused. The Hierophant. We already know who's going to be chosen. The Sun. Let's see, first court card, Queen of Coins. Now that would be Catherine. And Catherine wouldn't sit on the crown. Queen of Coins, who would that be? Living. Who would living be? Queen of Coins. Would it be Catherine? It could be. That's what the cards are saying. It would be Anne and then not Catherine. I'm trying to think who else is living. I'm trying to think of everybody's signs here. Interesting. But Catherine's not she wouldn't be queen. She'd be queen consort. So if not Catherine, Knight of Swords, Page of Cups, Seven of Coins, the Devil, Two of Wands, Three of Wands, Nine of Wands, Six of Swords, Five of Wands. Wow, where are all these kings? Maybe it's telling us that it would accept. Oh, Charlotte. So the Sapphire wouldn't burn for Charlotte. But it would burn for Anne. So if Charlotte ever becomes queen, she better not have her coronation with that crown. I just realized that. No wonder no kings are showing up. Look how cards, like they're just telling you. We told you who it was. Clock agrees. So unfortunately, Anne cannot be queen. But it will refuse Charlotte. Why will it refuse Charlotte? Why will it refuse Charlotte? Why? Why would it refuse Charlotte? Why would it refuse Charlotte? What's going on here? Why would it refuse Charlotte? Ten of Swords, ruin. You know, we've done some auto writing and other readings that Charlotte does come into the crown because of ruin. And I wonder if it's because I'm pretty sure we've read that it'll be a whole new monarchy by then. And perhaps that crown won't be used for the coronation. Or perhaps there won't even be a coronation. Perhaps it'll just be an announcement. I'm going to say I bet that crown's not used for Charlotte. Interesting. Well, what did you think? I thought I'd throw something interesting at us and kind of fascinating, all these deep lore things that we don't really hear about, but you Google them and they're out there. Like I said, I found this on Wikipedia, the Steuart Sapphire. All you have to do is start looking at what jewels are on the crown and are there any kind of lores about them or mythology or anything going on, and that's how I found it. So I'm going to keep digging because some of this stuff is pretty interesting. So thank you so much for watching. Please take good care. See you online. Bye for now.